I knew something was wrong the second I saw my 3-foot plastic snowman get hauled off in the back of a golf cart like it was contraband. Not stolen, not vandalized, confiscated. By a 70-year-old woman in orthopedic sneakers and a neon orange visor, screaming into a walkie-talkie like she was running a military operation. That was my welcome to the neighborhood moment, and the day I learned what living under an HOA Karen really meant. My name's Lucas Hart, and until last year, I'd never had a problem with Christmas. I'm a born and raised Texan, 34, father of 2, and the kind of guy who grills in the driveway and waves at strangers like I've known them for years. After a decade in Houston, my wife and I decided we wanted something quieter. Somewhere the kids could bike without dodging traffic and where neighbors actually talked to each other. So we bought a place in Clearwater Oaks, a picture-perfect subdivision outside San Antonio. At first glance, it looked like something straight out of a holiday commercial. Clean lawns, wreaths on every door, kids riding scooters, pickup trucks parked just right so no one complained. We closed in September, moved in October, and by Thanksgiving, I was convinced we'd struck gold. Then December rolled in, and so did she. Her real name is Carol Danvers, but everyone just calls her Karen when she's not around. I didn't understand why at first. She seemed harmless enough, gray blonde bob, tennis skirt whether she was playing or not, clipboard fused to her hand like a permanent accessory, always watching, always judging, always just reminding you of the guidelines. I figured she was just one of those bored HOA types with too much spare time and not enough hobbies. I'd dealt with worse. I was wrong. Our neighborhood does this big annual Christmas decorating event, prize for best yard, cocoa stand, the whole Texas winter wonderland experience. I'm a sucker for Christmas, so my kids and I had already mapped out our lights, inflatables, and a blow-up Santa that's older than my truck. We were only halfway through stringing lights across the porch when Karen strutted up the driveway like she owned the place. She didn't introduce herself, didn't compliment the work, didn't even smile. She pointed at my extension cord like it was a loaded gun. That, she announced, is non-approved lighting equipment. I blinked. Come again? She flipped through her clipboard. Per last year's HOA seasonal ordinance revision, only LED displays under 8 inches in height and solar-powered units are authorized. I laughed, thinking she was joking. It's Christmas. I'm not running a landing strip. She didn't laugh back. I chalked it up to a weird interaction and kept going. But the next morning, I woke up to a bright yellow notice of violation taped to my door, like some kind of public shaming. I'd been in the neighborhood 6 weeks and already had a citation. The offense? Unauthorized Yuletide structures. I thought it was a mistake until my neighbor across the street, Jenny Alvarez, marched over with a matching notice in her hand. Welcome to Clearwater, she said. Meet Karen, destroyer of joy. Apparently this wasn't new. Last year, she'd tried to ban nativity scenes because they obstructed visual uniformity. She'd once issued a warning over someone's candy canes being aggressively red. She even forced a family to repaint their wreath because the ribbon was cranberry instead of burgundy. Jenny told me to ignore it. Most people did. But I'm stubborn, and I refused to let anyone tell me I couldn't put a plastic reindeer on my own damn lawn. The second violation came 2 days later, then a third. Then she tried to fine me $50 because Santa's sleigh was angled incorrectly. By the first week of December, half the neighborhood was on edge. Every morning felt like Christmas boot camp. Neighbors dragging decorations out in secret, constantly glancing around like they were smuggling fireworks across a border. I started noticing Karen's little patrols. 2 other HOA board members who followed her around like Secret Service for the world's least fun president. But the real trouble started when I went to the community meeting. It was held in the clubhouse on the corner, where the walls still smelled like fresh paint, and the room was decorated with inspirational quotes in curly font. I wasn't planning on speaking. I just wanted to see what we were up against. But the second Karen saw me, she smiled like a shark. "Ah, Lucas." "Perfect timing," she said, tapping her pen against the table. "We were just going over the event guidelines for this year's Christmas light-off." Because apparently words were dangerous now. She pulled up a slideshow like she was presenting a government briefing. Slide 1. New decoration mandates. Slide 2. Color approval process. Slide 3. Yard display restrictions. Every rule was more ridiculous than the last. No figure taller than 3 feet. No cords visible from the street. No sound effects, motion features, blinking lights, or themes that could be considered attention-seeking. And, I kid you not, all displays had to be pre-cleared by the HOA board for tone and cohesion. Tone, cohesion, for Christmas lights. When someone asked what gave her the authority to change the event rules without a vote, she gestured to a binder thicker than a phone book and claimed it was temporary executive discretion. I glanced around the room and saw people shifting in their seats, whispering, frowning. A few dared to stand and object, but she shut them down with her signature catchphrase: "If you don't comply, you're welcome to take it up with legal." That's when I realized she wasn't just annoying. She was abusing power she didn't even have. 2 nights later, she took it further. We just set up our tree inside when my daughter, Mia, came running in crying. Someone had taken our snowman and the string lights we'd laid out along the porch. At first, I thought it was kids messing around, until I saw tire tracks from a golf cart in the grass. I followed them down the street and found a pile of decorations behind the maintenance shed. Not just mine. Jenny's inflatables. The Ramirez family's nutcracker figures. Even the Hendersons' wreath that had been hanging there since before Thanksgiving. And standing guard like she was protecting state secrets. Karen, she was directing 2 HOA board members like they were crime scene techs, sorting through extension cords and deflated snow globes. I walked straight up to her. "Where the hell is my property?" She didn't flinch. Per ordinance revision, non-conforming decor is subject to immediate removal. "You stole my stuff," she sniffed. "I confiscated violations for community safety." Jenny showed up right behind me, phone already recording. A few more neighbors trickled in. Whispers turned to grumbling. Someone shouted, "You can't do that, Karen." Another yelled, "This isn't your personal dictatorship." And for the first time, I saw it. A crack in her perfect, smug expression. But she didn't back down. Instead, she upped the ante. The next morning, every house received a printed packet titled Mandatory Holiday Compliance Program. Inside were new fines, a ban on yard gatherings without written permission, and, I swear this is real, a rule prohibiting neighbors from sharing decorations without HOA approval. She tried to control what we put up, where we put it, and who could help us do it. People were furious. But fear kept most of them quiet. Not me. I started knocking on doors. I talked to families who'd lived there longer than me, people who'd watched this woman get elected unopposed because no one thought it mattered. Turns out the bylaws didn't even allow half the rules she was pushing. She was counting on everyone being too polite or too tired to stop her. By December 10th, the rebellion was brewing. We formed a group chat, shared old HOA documents, made plans to challenge her authority. But before we could act, she made her biggest move yet. She showed up at my door with 2 board members and a sheriff's deputy. The look on my wife's face is something I won't forget. Karen held up another citation. But this time it wasn't about lights. It was personal. She claimed our yard decorations were a threat to neighborhood property values and had filed for a forced removal order if we didn't dismantle everything within 48 hours. But that wasn't the worst part. She'd reported me for harassment and non-compliance to the HOA legal team and hinted that my family could be banned from community events, including the kids. That's when I stopped trying to play nice, because she didn't just come after my lights. She came after my family. But what Karen didn't know was that while she was plotting her next power move, the rest of the neighborhood was already planning hers. And the first shot of Christmas War, it wasn't fired by me. It came from someone she never saw coming. Karen stood on my porch with her smug little grin, clutching that citation like it was a death warrant. Behind her, the deputy shifted uncomfortably, clearly realizing he was stuck in the middle of something way above his pay grade. My wife hovered by the door, arms crossed, jaw tight. And me? I was seconds away from losing it. She thought she'd won. She thought the sheriff's presence would scare me into tearing down every bulb, every wreath, every ounce of Christmas spirit. But then, just when it looked like she had me cornered, a voice cut through the air. Actually, Karen, you don't have that authority. Everyone turned. Standing at the edge of my driveway, holding a folder thicker than a Bible, was Mr. Callahan, the quietest neighbor in Clearwater Oaks. The guy had lived here since the subdivision was built, kept to himself, barely waved when you drove by. No one really knew much about him. But that night, under the glow of my porch lights, he looked like a man ready for war. Karen sneered. "Excuse me?" Callahan walked up slow, calm, and handed the deputy a paper from his folder. "That's the original Clearwater Oaks HOA charter, ratified 2009. You'll see there's no such thing as executive discretion." She made it up. The deputy skimmed the document, his brow furrowing. Karen's smirk faltered. "Lucas," Callahan said, turning to me, "you're not crazy. She's been overstepping for years. I've been documenting everything he tapped the folder. Every fake rule, every bogus fine, every dollar she's misappropriated." Karen's face went red. "That's slander. Pure slander." But the deputy didn't move. My neighbors, who'd started gathering on the sidewalk, leaned in closer. Phones were recording. Whispers turned into murmurs. The tension broke like a dam. And just like that, the war was on. The next few days felt like living in the middle of a political scandal. Word spread fast. People who'd been too afraid to speak up started knocking on my door, handing me copies of their own citations. Jenny set up a group meeting in her garage. By the end of the week, half the neighborhood was crammed in there, passing around hot cocoa and copies of the HOA bylaws like we were planning a revolution. And in a way, we were. Karen, of course, didn't back down. She doubled down. Patrols every night, more fines. more threats. One family woke up to find their inflatable Frosty. The snowman slashed open with a knife. Another got a letter claiming their candy cane archway was a safety hazard. Every move we made, she pushed harder. But Callahan kept feeding us ammunition, emails, meeting notes, even photos of her using HOA funds to install a private hot tub in her backyard. She wasn't just power-hungry, she was corrupt. The plan came together fast. The annual Christmas lighting ceremony. Karen had turned it into her personal dictatorship, banning half the decorations and threatening to shut down the cocoa stand. But we weren't going to let her win. Not this time. We were going to turn her own stage into her downfall. The night of the ceremony, the clubhouse lawn was packed. Families, kids, neighbors, all standing in the cold Texas air, bundled in jackets and scarves, waiting for the lights. Karen strutted up to the microphone like she was hosting the Oscars. Clipboard in hand, her voice rang out, "Welcome, Clearwater Oaks, to our annual holiday lighting." But she didn't finish, because just then, every house on the main street lit up at once. Not in the approved, subdued white LED nonsense she'd forced through. Oh no. This was full-blown, unapologetic Christmas chaos. Multicolored lights, giant Santas, a 12-foot Grinch flipping the bird, music blasted from hidden speakers, Jingle Bell Rock echoing so loud the ground vibrated. The crowd erupted. Kids screamed with joy. Parents cheered. Phones came out. Karen froze at the mic, her mouth opening and closing like a fish, gasping for air. And then, from the back of the crowd, Callahan stepped forward. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His words carried on the microphone Jenny had secretly hijacked. "Neighbors, tonight isn't just about lights. It's about truth. For too long, this board has been run by someone who doesn't follow the rules she claims to enforce. We have proof of illegal fines, misused funds, and fabricated ordinances. And tonight, we're done staying quiet." The crowd roared, Karen's face twisted into pure panic. "This is a mob, an illegal assembly. You'll all regret this." She snatched the mic back, but the damage was done. People were shouting, waving papers, calling her out. And then, her biggest mistake yet. She screamed, "I am this hoe!" Dead silence followed. Even the kids stopped moving. Then someone shouted from the crowd, "No, you're not! You're fired!" The room broke, chants started. "Fired! Fired! Fired!" Karen tried to fight back, but Callahan pulled out the ace. A notarized petition with signatures from more than half the homeowners. Enough to trigger a recall. Enough to end her reign tonight. The deputy, who had come back for security, took one look at the papers, then at Karen, and finally said the words we'd all been waiting for. "Ma'am, I think you need to step down." She didn't go quietly. "Oh no," she screamed. She threw the mic. She accused half the neighborhood of conspiring against her. But it didn't matter. The evidence was overwhelming. The board members who'd been backing her slipped away into the crowd. The community voted, right there on the spot, to remove her as HOA president. And when she stormed off the stage, someone, God bless them, hit the lights again. 1,000 bulbs blazed against the night sky, brighter than ever. It was victory in neon. The fallout was swift. Within a week, Karen's hot tub was repossessed. The HOA bank account was audited. And let's just say, the numbers didn't look good for her. She was slapped with fines of her own, real ones this time, for misuse of funds and fraudulent behavior. And her legacy? gone. She'd spent years trying to control this place, to crush every ounce of joy, to bend people into submission. Now she was the punchline of every joke, the villain in every story. Kids made memes about her. Adults toasted to her downfall. As for me, I kept my lights up all season, bigger, brighter, louder than ever. The kids called it Christmas revenge. One night I stood out on the porch, cocoa in hand, watching cars drive by to see the display. Neighbors stopped to talk, music played, and for the first time since we'd moved to Clearwater Oaks, I felt it. Community. Real, messy, imperfect, loud community. Karen had tried to break us apart. Instead, she brought us together. And as I watched the snowman, returned safe and sound, glow bright against the night, I realized something. Sometimes, the fight isn't about lights or rules or decorations. Sometimes, the fight is about reminding people that no one, no matter how entitled, no matter how loud, can steal your joy without your permission. And that Christmas, in Clearwater Oaks, joy won. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss what's coming next. Drop your thoughts in the comments.